What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Nice Catch Podcast. We're here to catch you up on all the latest football news and analysis. I'm Baden.
And I'm Hank. Today, we're catching you up on all the recent headlines, like the Robert Saleh firing and Jayden Daniels' historic season, and we're keeping our trend of doing the Nice Catch bottom 10 and top 10. Third one, I'm liking it. It's a lot of fun. But let's jump in with the headlines. One that I did not expect to wake up to this morning. I don't know if it probably won't be this morning whenever you release it. Anyway, Robert Saleh done for the Jets. I know my initial reaction was pretty surprised. How did you see that?
I mean, out of all of the teams that are having bad seasons that could be attributed to some coaching, the Jets wouldn't be on my list. Wouldn't be at the top of my list, at least. I was kind of blindsided by that.
Mm-hmm.
But which makes me wonder if it's something outside of simply like how the team is doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially with just some of the ways that it seems to have gone about, having to be escorted out and everything.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was it's a business. Head coaches get fired. But to have to be escorted out by security, I do wonder. I didn't think about that, if we'll see something else coming up soon. Mm-hmm. But just some stats from Robert Saleh's, how long was it? 3.5, 2.5
I think
seasons?
3.
I think it's 3.5 based on these numbers. 20 and 36, .357 win percentage, which is the worst win percentage for a Jets coach in history.
Mm.
He had 6 quarterbacks. I would make you guess, but I know there's no way I would guess this. One quarterback had a winning record under Robert Saleh. One other had a tied record, but the only one with a winning record, Trevor Siemian.
I would not have got that.
So
I definitely would not have guessed that.
Yeah, definitely not. Aaron Rodgers losing. I don't remember if he was losing or tied. I should have had it pulled up here. Anyway, but it definitely was surprising to me too, as I said. They said it's because he didn't meet expectations. Fair, but you've had Aaron Rodgers for, that one game didn't count last season. 5 games, and you're 2-3. Like, of course you didn't perform well with Zach Wilson, but I feel like there's still more. Since Robert Saleh has been there, they've been the 7th best defense in the NFL, and he was seen as a defensive head coach, but their offense was 31st in the league.
Yeah.
And so it does make me wonder if they fire Robert Saleh, who seems to be mostly in charge of defense, why is Nathaniel Hackett still there? Because, we saw what he did with the Broncos.
Yeah.
Jets take him. And even with Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson, it's still like this. Garrett Wilson hasn't even been a wide receiver 1 on their offense, really. So definitely surprising, and surely interested to see what the media comes out with this over the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
Of all the first head coach fired odds, not the one I would have picked.
Not the one I would have picked at all.
Before the season, definitely would have taken the Bears head coach. But they're doing better than I expected.
They are. It seems... I don't even want to say this, but it seems like it seems like it's coming together every game. They're just seem to be getting a little bit better every time.
Definitely a little better every time. But a rookie quarterback who is having a C.J. Stroud-like season, if I may say. Jayden Daniels?
I know,
insane. Dude. There were a lot of people who said Commanders were going to win the NFC East. I didn't buy it. I thought they're going to be good. I thought before the season, I expected them to maybe sneak in the 7 seed. But I also expected it to mostly be defense because Dan Quinn, we saw what he did with the Cowboys. But Jayden Daniels with an offense that, it's good, but Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson are your running backs. Your wide receiver 1's Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because they haven't had much offensive production in the past, but we don't see these guys as top wide receiver or top running backs.
Yeah.
Zach Ertz is tight end 1.
Zach Ertz is tight end 1. But he is delivering with the weapons he has, and he's making them look like star receivers and star running backs.
Absolutely.
Which is amazing. And he really brings something different to the Commanders that hasn't been there in a while. And I think it's looking good. it's looking good for that team and for that franchise. You can't after 5 games it's hard to make a big claim, but you're starting to see a franchise QB.
Absolutely. And you look at the rest of the NFC East schedule for the rest of the season. I'd be surprised if the Cowboys go above 500. But you look at Washington. All of the NFC East has hard schedules. I mean, the Ravens, Pittsburgh, just having to play the AFC North. That record-wise, isn't doing very well this season, or AFC North. But you don't want to play Joe Burrow. You don't want to play T.J. Watt. You don't want to play Lamar Jackson or anyone on the Ravens.
No.
The Browns. Well, you got one easy one in there.
You can play the Browns.
But Cleveland just lost to Washington 34-13 last time that they played. But yeah, Washington is looking like real contenders. And I also saw a random stat that Washington doesn't have to get on a plane until I think week 15.
Seriously?
Because their road games, home games, Carolina, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Dallas. Road games, Baltimore, that's really close.
Yeah.
New York. I don't know. I don't know.
It's fairly close.
Fairly close.
It's bus distance.
Yeah, you can make that in a bus probably about the same distance or same time you do a plane. Philadelphia, relatively close. Closer than New York. Those are their away games. So New Orleans, week 15, after their bye week, if whatever stat I saw was true, will be their first time they get on a plane and that's December 15th. That's 2 months.
Wow. And that bears well for
Definitely.
your team. There's just an element of being on the plane, all that travel, that long travel that just gets you worn out. And of course, they're professionals. They have all the sports medicine and all the exercise scientists they need to not be all worn out for their game. But just mentally, you're going to be more fatigued having to travel like that. And so to be able to get 15 weeks of football in before you have to travel like that, that's going to be helpful. That's going to add it adds a little bit of an element. And when you get into the professionals, and everyone is a professional athlete, anything you have to just give you that little bit of an extra edge, you take advantage of it.
Definitely. But one more rookie quarterback I want to touch on before we talk about some injuries that have plagued the NFL this past week. The Patriots are switching to Drake May. I was definitely surprised that they didn't start with them this season. I do think rookie quarterbacks need some adjustment to the NFL, but Jacoby Brissett's not going to take you to the playoffs.
No.
Likely Drake May won't either, but if you're choosing between the two, I think Drake May gives you a better chance to win, and that is what you want in the NFL.
It's kind of the goal.
It is kind of the goal. You're right.
It's kind of the idea.
Yeah.
Win games.
That's true. It definitely is the point.
Yeah, and although, Jacoby Brissett he's in the NFL. He's a professional. But, when we were talking about Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, it's good for Justin Fields to sit back and watch this veteran, to grow under him, which isn't how it's panned out. But, if I'm thinking about the Patriots, it's not that same situation. It's not Drake May sitting behind, an Aaron Rodgers or something. It's, it's just different. It's a different situation, and at this point, I think it's better to just get Drake May in-game experience. Get him in there, see how he performs.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's definitely a conflict if you look at past experiences of, C.J. Stroud stepped right in, took him to the playoffs and a playoff win. Patrick Mahomes sat for a year. You look at the Packers, Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 years. Jordan Love sat for 3 years. And we know Aaron Rodgers did.
Yeah.
And Jordan Love has seemingly taken a similar path to Aaron Rodgers winning-wise right now.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see Drake May's first career start this Saturday or Sunday. College is on Saturday. Against the Texans. It's not going to be a Not going to be the first start you want.
It's not going to be an easy start, but,
No.
I mean, if the Texans keep throwing penalties around like they have been the last 2 weeks, then maybe they'll have a shot.
Absolutely. It's in Foxborough at Gillette Stadium, and so that'll be helpful, not having to get on a plane, as we've talked about.
For
but
sure.
Still, this
little
site,
bit of a fear factor.
Definitely. This site gives them a 25% win probability, but hey, there's been some crazy upsets.
Weirder things have happened.
Oh, well, we'll get there. Yep. One more note that I missed here, or almost missed here, is that the Raiders are thinking about a QB change to Aiden O'Connell, who did pretty well last season, especially for a fourth-round rookie.
Yeah.
I love Gardner Minshew. He's so funny.
Absolutely.
But if you want to win games and Gardner Minshew isn't winning you games, it's kind of hard to stick with him.
Yeah. It's when you want to look for a change.
Definitely. But I don't see Aiden O'Connell being that much
different
or a step up. I don't know. All the way too early mock drafts I've seen have had I saw one had the Raiders pick a running back, which I don't expect. But Raiders quarterback in the top 10 is just what right now is looking like is going to happen.
Yeah.
And those quarterbacks in the top 10 are probably going to change a lot the rest of this season. Cam Ward looks like a star. Jalen Milroe. Shadur Sanders, who hasn't honestly performed that great. But if your dad's Deion Sanders, you got to give him a chance.
You got to give him a chance.
But as for the injuries, the three main ones this week, Derek Carr is going to be out. We don't know how long yet, but more than just a week with an oblique injury. And right now, Jake Haener is the backup, who's a still pretty young guy out of Fresno State, ironically. Same college as Derek Carr. Don't really trust him to lead an offense, but Saints have fallen anyway. So another team that started out hot and is continuing to be hot, Vikings lose Aaron Jones to a hip injury, I believe.
Hip. I'm pretty sure it was hip.
And I don't know.
And it was early too. I think it was the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, because I turned the game on. I got back to my dorm a little late, or late later than noon. And right when I turned the Vikings game on, showed Aaron Jones on the sideline.
Yep.
And then other one, Jake Moody. Kicker injuries are always a little weird.
Yeah.
Because in a sense, you can't find a kicker in free agency, and in a sense, you definitely can.
Yeah.
Because, I think a few seasons ago, the Patriots went through 5 kickers in a season. Not as bad as the Browns going through 5 quarterbacks in a season, but they're the Browns.
Yeah.
So we'll push them to the side. But Jake Moody's done really well for him.
Really well.
And so
this is his second year, I believe.
And their punter made a field goal. You saw Juszczyk warming up on the sideline. What can't he do?
Yeah, exactly.
But those are the main 3 injuries. I don't want to talk about fantasy. I'm doing really bad. You had a good week.
I've had one good week since it started. I'm 1-3 in my family league. Or 1-4 because it's been 5 weeks. I'm 1-4 in one of my leagues. 2-3 in the other one, and maybe 3-2. So I'm not doing great, but I've done worse.
Yeah.
Except for the family one. And it was my idea to do fantasy this year, and I'm in last. So that's a little rough.
Well, I'm 1-4 in one and 4-1 in the other.
1-4 in one and 1 I lost it.
Yeah. After I said that, I was like, whoa, that sounded weird. One position that I will cover because it is going well for me, and because this is what people need the most help on, I think. Or not people need the most help on. This is what the position that is the most confusing this season is tight ends. Because the tight ends who we thought would be good haven't been good, and the tight ends who have been good are ones that we did not expect. Number 1, Brock Bowers.
He has been crushing.
And then 2, Kittle, kind of expected. Someone who I picked up last week was Tucker Kraft, and he's now the 3rd tight end after a monster performance last week.
Dude.
So
what is he? Who is he? Who does he play for?
Packers. Who he wasn't even assumed to be the number 1 going into the season.
Wow.
Number 1 tight end for
Only
the
on
Packers.
45% of rosters, 46. Y'all better pick him up.
Pick up Tucker Kraft if you.
Y'all better pick him up.
Yep. He last 2 games, 17 and 24.
Whew.
Some other tight ends that might be available. Jacksonville's backup to Evan Ingram has been playing really well in his place. Cade Otton, Tampa Bay's tight end. You never know with Tampa Bay. I mean, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans are going to take a lot of targets. Yeah. But red zone, Cade Otton, averaging only 6 points. But tight ends, especially if you're in a deep league,
they're thin.
They're definitely thin. Whoops. I hit the wrong button on my tight ends list. Jonnu Smith for Miami. I mean, again, Miami has a lot of targets, so it's probably not going to be a prime tight end. But if you're desperate, as I was when I picked up Tucker Kraft, pick him up.
It worked, didn't it?
Yep, you never know. Isaiah likely had another good week, so who knows with the Ravens tight ends.
See, that's the hard thing. I saw this stat. Maybe you I don't know if you sent it to me. But it was just like people who have scored more than
Mark Andrews.
This season. And it was like third string tight ends and Jared Goff.
Yeah, Jared Goff has more receptions.
More receptions.
Or not more receptions, more
touchdowns.
receptions and touchdowns. More receiving points than yeah. Any good fantasy pickups for you this past week or past couple weeks?
Let me look. I don't think I've done anything crazy. I will say Mason was a good pickup. That wasn't this week. That was a couple weeks ago. For the 49ers, he's really, he's not Christian McCaffrey, but he's really filling in there very well. He's doing really well. Honestly, a good pickup, even though the Saints have not been what they were in the first 2 weeks. Rashid Shaheed is still doing very well.
Yeah, he's the most Tyreek Hill-like player outside of Tyreek Hill, I think.
Yeah.
As in deep threat.
Yeah, deep threat, not necessarily the
everyday receiving points.
But I mean, he's only had in our league the points are a little bit different. In my family league, just because we like big numbers.
Yep.
But I mean, 27, 33, and then. Of course, when I picked him up and started him the first week, 0. And then 19 and 25. So other than that one game against the Eagles, which was just an embarrassment to football all around, he did pretty well. And then also Darnell Mooney.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
Which we'll talk about the Falcons in a little bit. But,
absolutely.
I mean, he had been averaging for me like less than 10 points, he had a couple good games, but I mean 2 points, 8 points, 31 points, and that's not in the one where the numbers are boosted. He's the reason I won in our league this past week was Darnell Mooney, and so hey, I'm sure he's already taken in your league, but if he's not, might not be a bad choice.
Yep,
good pickup.
I know there's people with like 6-person leagues out there. And, the league that Baden and I are in together is a 14-person league. So, one of my leagues is 6 people, and then the other's 14. And so...
Same. It's a lot different. The teams look a lot different.
Definitely. A person that I would have on my bench, a person I would have starting in the big league, I probably wouldn't even have on my bench in the other league.
Yeah.
But I think that's about it for fantasy.
Yeah, I think that's it for me.
You kind of get in the first 3 weeks and you realize that what we expected isn't happening. It's just always what happens. And then there's kind of a lull after we kind of figured out a few players that work, that have been successful waiver wire pickups. But this part of the season is kind of the figuring out if our first assumptions after the games are going to be correct, if that makes any sense.
I think I'm tracking with you.
Yeah.
I think I'm tracking.
Yeah.
I'm with you. We're locked in.
Definitely. Locked in for sure. All right. I'll start the bottom 10 because you have a good number 1.
The great catch. Top 10, bottom 10.
Here we go.
A nice catch. I don't know why I said great catch.
It's okay. Nice catch.
I have to sit in the embarrassment of looking at my computer username every day and see great catch, knowing that is indeed not the name of the podcast. And I have not figured out how to change it.
Well,
even to Baden. I've done that to myself though. All
exactly. Right. Yeah, it's fine. Great catch, nice catch. Maybe we'll have to get some shirts that say nice catch.
Nice catch. Yes. Merch.
That would be cool. Right. Maybe you have to put that question in the comments.
So would y'all buy merch?
Would you buy merch? We'll see. I'd buy merch.
I would buy merch. We'd also be paying for merch,
exactly.
But I'd still buy it.
Yeah, I'm a broke college student.
Yeah. All right.
Bottom 10. Number 10, I'm going with the Bengals. Out of all the teams at the bottom of the NFL, the Bengals are not the one I expected because they do always start out slow. But this looks to be a much bigger problem than just starting out slow.
Yeah.
I mean, Jamar Chase is Jamar Chase. Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow. There's not much else besides that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they lose Mixon. They lose some other pieces of their defense, and I didn't expect it to hurt them this much.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like Joe Burrow said, they're not playing playoff football right now. And so, number 10, going with the Bengals. Hopefully they can turn it around, but if not, well, it's going to be interesting to see how their season turns out.
And they're kind of the opposite of the Chiefs right now. The Chiefs have won a bunch of really close games. The Bengals have lost really close games. They're not getting blown out, but they're not able to deliver in those big moments.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9, the New Orleans run. I wasn't sure if it was buried yet, but it is indeed seems to be over, especially now with Derek Carr being injured for an undetermined amount of time. They had an epic first 2 weeks, just right out the bat. We had Derek Carr MVP conversations. We had some people thinking, NFC frontrunner? What is going on? Absolutely, it's crashed and burned, which is very sad because it was kind of a cool underdog story. No one expected the Saints to be good. I didn't. And they had a really good first 2 weeks, but they're falling off. So that's definitely bottom number 9.
Definitely. Number 8, fumbled the basketball. This was a ref going on talking to America, as a ref said last season, and says that a player fumbles a basketball. I mean, hey, we can all get distracted while we're at work, but I didn't expect for that to be a highlight coming out of this past week. We determined that the runner fumbled the basketball. That
was not on my bingo card.
Definitely not on my bingo card. And it, in fact, was a football. It was not a basketball, for those of you who are wondering.
For those of y'all that might have missed the game.
Yep, exactly. They didn't just decide to play with the basketball. But fumbled the basketball is going to be a quote that we hear for a little while. Number 8.
Number 7, this one we've already touched on, but just continuous injuries. Mm-hmm. It's not such stopping. We're just seeing, this week we had Derek Carr, Aaron Jones, Jake Moody, which we've touched on those players already in this episode, but just the continuous injuries. Yeah. It seems to me like a lot more than we've seen in the past seasons. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely a bottom 7.
Yeah. Number 6, one that I did not expect going into this season is Oklahoma State and Ollie Gordon. I realized this at first on their really close win over Arkansas, who we'll talk about more later.
Mm-hmm.
But they can't run the ball. Ollie Gordon was supposed to be a Heisman candidate, first-round pick, and he's not someone we're talking about. He did have, he's statistically not terrible, but I expected to see Oklahoma State in the at least top 15 at this point. And, I need to fact check myself, but I'm pretty sure Oklahoma State is unranked right now. And they can't run the football, which is what they were supposed to be able to do. Oklahoma State is 3-3, and they're 14th in the Big 12. And the Big 12 is not a good conference.
No.
Definitely not this season. statistically, Ollie Gordon this season has 384 rushing yards. And that is out of everyone. Like if you look at all of college football rushing yards, obviously Ollie Gordon's at the top. Not Ollie Gordon, sorry, Ashton Jeanty, because he is insane,
An absolute dog.
But you look at 2024 stats. He's not in the top 5. Ashton Jeanty, number 1 with over 1,000 yards already. You have to go down. He's not even in the top 50.
Goodness.
So not what I expected. Took me a second to find that stat. But number 6 on the bottom 10, Oklahoma State and Ollie Gordon. Not expecting that, but they've earned the bottom 10.
Yeah. For number 5, I have the Jets, which we've also already touched on.
Yes, Jets.
But the Jets with Aaron Rodgers was it was supposed to be amazing. I mean, people had a lot of stock on Aaron Rodgers really turning around the Jets because they had, a terrible season last season. Just a lot of, especially when Aaron Rodgers got hurt that first game, just the QBs just in and out. They had no idea what was going on with the Jets. And Aaron Rodgers comes back. He's healthy. He's ready. And they have scored the same amount of points in 5 weeks as they did with Zach Wilson. 93 points in 5 weeks, which, I mean, that doesn't sound bad. But there's no change. There's no difference. And it's not like he's winning all their games. He threw some terrible interceptions
for Aaron
against
Rodgers,
the Vikings.
That's crazy, too.
Yeah.
Because Aaron Rodgers had seasons with, 46 touchdowns and 5 interceptions.
Yeah.
He's the quarterback that you look at and you think, he's a guy who doesn't throw interceptions. And then he throws 3.
He throws 3 against the Vikings, and bad ones. There's obviously, interceptions where the receiver tips it or something, and it hasn't been like that, So that's just really been a letdown, I think, for just football in general. I think we've really expected the Jets to take off this season, and they just haven't. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely number 5 for me.
Number 4, Rashee Rice. Being injured, not torn ACL as far as we know, but still out for the season by his own quarterback.
Yeah.
It's funny, but it's also not funny.
Yeah.
The Chiefs were already thin at wide receiver. Marquise Brown was going to be a great addition, out for the season. Rashee Rice was going to be number 1, out for the season. Xavier Worthy and Juju Smith-Schuster are their top 2 targets now, aside for Travis Kelce, who hasn't had a great season.
No, not a great start.
Had a better game yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday, as of when we're recording. But, yeah, Chiefs, wide receiver core, looking pretty thin. And, ironically, Patrick Mahomes is part of the reason why.
Yeah. Yeah, but he made Juju Smith-Schuster look pretty good last game.
Definitely.
And that's the thing that Patrick Mahomes can do is he works with what he's got. But, it's just a rough break. For number 3, I have the Jordan Love pick 6.
When Will Levis is out, we need someone to fill in.
Exactly. He is trying to escape the safety, trying to do everything he can not to give up 2 points, and instead he gives up 6, which is, for everybody out there, is more than 2. And so that was just hilarious. And, Jordan Love is an amazing quarterback, and he's just coming off injury. And so still a lot of hope for him, but that was rough. And it was hilarious, too, genuinely. Yeah, 6 is more points than 2 points.
100%.
That is why that is number 3.
Yeah. Jordan Love doesn't seem like he's 100%. I wonder if there's still some lingering injuries.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if they'd be in a rush to put him back, because Malik Willis is playing well. But that pick, it should have just been 2. But, well, here you go. Number 2, this could be a top 10, but, depending on what team you're a fan of. But based on the fact of how tragic it was for these teams, just overall the top 10, or the SEC teams in the top 10, only one SEC team in the top 10 who played won, and the other one who didn't lose was Idle, Texas. Bama, Tennessee, and Mizzou all lost to teams outside the top 20. A&M was 25, and so I can't say top 25. But that's just not what I expected
Not
at all.
at all.
You look at, if someone had told me Vanderbilt would win, Arkansas would win, and I didn't even think Texas A&M would win. They were favored. If you look at like betting odds, I mean the 12th man obviously helps a lot with that. But all the number 1 after beating Georgia, the number 4, and the number 9, all losing.
Yeah.
That, just how wild that was, and what a fail that was by those teams. Number 2 in the bottom 10.
Absolutely. For number 1.
Number 1.
The big man, Dak Prescott himself, becoming the first QB in NFL history to throw an interception in one game over 2 days. He threw an interception on, what would it be?
Sunday.
On Sunday, October 6th, and then threw another interception Monday, October 7th.
I don't think that was October 6th and 7th.
Well, today's the 8th.
Oh, it is.
Oh,
you're right.
whoa.
I was looking at the clock and it says 10:13, and I thought that was the date. I thought it was October 13th, and I was like, not that it's a big deal, but like, I think I need to know what day it is.
A whole week off. No. But that, and they won the game, you know. But, and for anyone who doesn't know, the game was delayed a pretty long time because of some weather. Not some weather, for bad weather.
Lots of weather.
But Dak Prescott, officially the first QB to throw a pick over 2 days in one game. It's
and
impressive.
He also threw a touchdown in 2 days.
He absolutely did do that too. So we'll
give him some credit.
We'll let that kind of bleed into the top 10. Okay. Well, that will be the segue.
Hey.
To our top 10.
$60 million quarterback's got to break some records.
Exactly. Take 2 in one night. 2 in one night.
Hey, the day just changed.
2 in 2 days.
It's 10:14 now. So it's now the 14th.
Yeah, it's now the 14th, and in 1 minute it will be the 15th.
There you go.
We're moving quick.
That was weird. I don't know how that happened. For top 10, I'm taking the number 1 for this one for good reason.
So I'll start us off.
So yeah, you can start us off here.
Okay, since we've already touched on this a good bit, I'll put this at number 10. But A&M upsetting Missouri, Arkansas upsetting Tennessee, Vanderbilt upsetting Alabama. I mean, the college upsets were just amazing. So fun to watch.
Definitely. And you can throw in there a couple others. I mean, Minnesota beating USC, Washington beating Michigan.
Yeah.
You know, both a couple more field storms. Always fun to see.
Always fun to see. Everybody, and that feeds into something I'll say just a little bit on this list, but I mean, college is exciting to watch. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's been sometimes the hard thing is you just see the same old teams beating everybody. Mm-hmm. And it hasn't, at least this past week, it hasn't been that way. Those same old teams, Alabama, are got beat by Vanderbilt. And that was just fun to watch. I was watching that game, and I'm like, and putting up 40 points. Goodness gracious.
Definitely.
It just makes football fun to watch when you don't necessarily know what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
So that was pretty cool.
Number 9, I have Miami's heroics. This goes to the past 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, originally got called a touchdown. It definitely wasn't. They were that close to losing to Virginia Tech. And then, versus Cal, confession, I went to bed. It was late. I mean, it ended at 1:40. I'm in college, but I'm still not staying up that late before, well, it wasn't a school day, before church. But coming back 25 points against Cal, in Cal's home stadium, that late at night, because, I mean, for Miami, if Cam Ward and those guys are used to being in Eastern time, The game ended at 2:40 for them.
Yeah.
But the heroics, just crazy. Cam Ward's a beast. And Miami's looking really good.
Mm-hmm. For number 8, we have the Texans-Bills game. This comes from a Texans fan, so there's some bias. But it came down to the wire. That was fun to watch for me. That was a really good game. A shootout at the end. Ended up with a last-second field goal. Mm-hmm. Almost a career long for Fairbairn. Pretty close. I think it was 59. But, yeah, it was just a good game. And it's games like that just make football fun to watch.
Definitely.
Really close. And I think that might have been the first time they've played since the playoffs in the Bills and Texans since the playoffs in I think it was Josh Allen's first or second year.
I remember watching that game.
And I was watching that game, and I was so excited that the Texans won because the Texans hadn't been great recently or then, and but I also felt bad because they had been hyping up Josh Allen for bringing the Bills back to the playoffs after their 3 or 4 failed Super Bowls. And so, but yeah, I remember that game. So it was a cool moment, but Texans still on top.
Yeah, that definitely was a good game. Number 7 over here, undefeated service academies. Army and Navy, both 5-0. This makes the Army-Navy game even more exciting than normal. It's already one of the top games of the season, just because of all the hype around it. But if they're both good teams who not only are looking at, conference championships, but looking at college football playoff spots, this could be, they'll play each other, and then a week later play each other for a conference championship, likely, and that could have playoff implications, which is crazy with Army and Navy. And it's just always fun to root for those teams. Because you know that, obviously they're football teams, but there's more than just football. It's, the pride of America. They're not just they're not just football guys. They're also devoting their lives for our country. And so, cool to already give them respect and also to have them be really good at football and fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely. For number 6, I won all of my fantasy games, which is very uncommon because I've been on a pretty nice losing streak in most of my leagues. And I had some terrible games, but somehow I still won. Other people did terrible or worse.
Terribler fits there.
Honestly, I think I'll stick with terribler. So we got the triple crown this week in fantasy, and so life couldn't be better.
Absolutely. Always good to get a fantasy dub.
Oh yeah.
Number 5 is still insane to me, but Ryan Williams, Alabama's 17-year-old freshman wide receiver, kind of makes me rethink my life. I'm you're younger than me, and you're putting up crazy catches on what was the best team in college football. Yeah. And they did lose this past game, but still had highlight reel plays on there.
Yeah.
If Justin Jefferson made that catch, several of the ones he made against Georgia,
we never stopped seeing it.
Oh, we never stopped seeing it. It would be the catch of the year, the play of the year already. And Ryan Williams, 17-year-old, doing it freshman year when he should be in high school against the best team in the country. Just blows my mind. Definitely, I assume we'll be seeing him in the league 3 years from now. 3 years from now.
And it's just, it really shows his mental state and his character to be able to perform that amount of pressure on you. And then in last game, even though they had a loss, he was the number 1 receiver. They have Alabama has 2 receivers battling injuries. And so for him to have to step up as a true freshman, younger than a true freshman, in that scenario and play so well, play excellent, that's awesome.
100%.
So really good for him. I think we need to step up our game.
Yeah, exactly. Intramural flag football.
About to go crazy.
Face our wrath.
For number 4, I have, and this is big coming from me, but I have college football, at least arguably this season, especially last week, is becoming more exciting to watch than the NFL in a lot of different ways. I never really watched college football growing up that much, other than, when it got to the playoffs and everything. My family never really had a team that we just followed. We'd watch the Texas teams, or like support the Texas teams. And then just recently, when some of my siblings have gone to Liberty, watched them. My brother went to Sam Houston, so I've been to a couple Sam Houston games. But I've not had a team that since I was a kid. I've just always been, an A&M fan, UT fan. Just hasn't really been there. So I've always watched a lot more NFL than college. But man, I turned on. I don't remember what the first game I turned on Saturday was, but I was just doing homework in my dorm. And I was like, I'm gonna just turn a game on in the background, and then I was watching all day. I mean, homework got a little bit harder because I was distracted because the games were exciting and interesting, and we had upsets. And I've said this at least one or two times on this podcast itself. That's what makes people love football, is when you don't know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Alabama isn't guaranteed anything anymore after last week. And there's been seasons where you just know who's going to be there at the end. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, having Boise State play like they're playing with Ashton Jeanty.
Jeanty, I don't know.
I mean, it's just so fun having teams that aren't necessarily who you think are going to be the best, playing really well, beating some of these really good teams. College is, for me, I don't know, I can't talk for everybody else, but it's becoming more fun to watch than I'll probably be watching it a lot more than I used to.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah, I know some of the people that listen to this back home have, been college is better than the NFL for a while. And there's, in ways there are. There's not a band in NFL. There's not, a student section in NFL. Mm-hmm. And so that, brings more hype to the college game.
For sure.
But generally, it's just not as good football.
There's not as good to watch.
But this season, I mean, the storylines are even better than they have been in the past. 12-team playoff helps with that. But, man, some good football being played and always has you on the edge of your seat. I predicted Alabama to win the SEC. They beat Georgia, and looking great for me. And they lose to Vanderbilt. Something's not linear there. And Vanderbilt earlier this season lost to Georgia State. Something's not linear there. So, Georgia State beat Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt beat A&M, beat Alabama. Alabama beat Georgia, so Georgia State is better than Georgia.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Georgia State is taking the SEC, taking the team playoffs. They're taking the college football playoffs.
Yeah, it's just not,
mark my words.
Not linear, which is NFL isn't either, but there's fewer teams, so it's easier to see a linear path there.
Yeah, for sure.
Number 3, we've touched on this a good bit already, but it was good enough that it just deserves to be on here as well. Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
They're 100%. A team that has been the laughingstock of the SEC. I mean, literally Nick Saban said, everywhere in the SEC is hard to play except Vanderbilt. You, single out this one team because they're never good. But they beat Alabama.
Yep.
And Alabama, people expected them to take a step back under Kalen DeBoer, but they beat Georgia and lose to Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Their quarterback, followed his offensive coordinator from New Mexico over here to Nashville, and Vanderbilt is lining things up. Yeah. He's fun to watch. Mm-hmm. Great football player.
Absolutely.
And obviously Vanderbilt's not going to win the SEC. Well, can't say that yet.
There's still time.
They're not high in SEC standings right now. But, man, Vanderbilt deserves a lot of praise after this past week.
A lot of praise.
And their fans, I'm sure, are loving it, too. Throwing the field goal posts in the river.
Yep. You got to. Whenever there's a big upset, you just know if you're in management, you just know you're about to have to pay for some field goal posts.
Exactly.
And I hate to see it if you're them, but love to see it if you're fans.
And Vanderbilt's also auctioning off auctioning off pieces of memorabilia from this game. Like, I think they're auctioning off the helmets, parts of the field goal, like used game balls from the game for a pretty good piece of money.
Oh, so, yeah. Hey, got to take advantage of this moment. You don't know when it's going to happen again.
Exactly. I mean, NIL fund maybe. Yeah. But there you go. Vanderbilt giving them a lot of praise this week.
Absolutely deserves that top 3. I think a good a good number 2 to follow that up is the Vikings are still undefeated. And that's definitely something no one saw. But especially J.J. McCarthy getting injured. I mean, your quarterback's going to be Sam Darnold? Really? And Sam Darnold is leading them to an undefeated season. They outlasted the Bills, which I didn't see coming. They outlasted the Steelers, which, I mean, I would have imagined before the season started that the Steelers and the Vikings would be around the same spot. But, I mean, to be one of 2 undefeated teams and that other team is Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, that's pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. And definitely not what I was expecting. And Aaron Rodgers, oh my goodness, guys, it's late. Aaron Jones gets injured in the first quarter. You still get the W against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets in London. I mean, they're not getting fluke wins. Mm-hmm. They are playing good football and they are winning games. And that is just not what I saw coming.
Definitely.
But it's, like I've been saying, it's just cool to watch. It's fun.
Yeah.
So I like that at number 2.
Definitely. Looking ahead at their season, I would expect them to beat the Giants, even 28-6. I mean, it's the Giants.
Yeah.
But then 49ers, Texans. They blew out
and
the
they
Texans.
Destroyed the Texans.
And
I
Packers,
hate saying that.
Packers is a close win. But division rival in Lambeau. And then the Jets, their game versus the Lions this week, it's going to tell a lot. Because the Lions, they've lost some close games, but the Lions have been playing really well.
Very well. Lions are a great team.
And so that game, I think, will tell a lot about both these teams. Mm-hmm.
Like we could see a first loss there, I think.
Definitely, we could. I'm not willing to call it yet, but it's going to be a fun one to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely have to tune in there.
A lot of risk, not a lot of stakes on both teams.
Definitely. My number 1, ironically coming right after the Vikings, Kirk Cousins. The Falcons this season, they were a hot take as a Super Bowl pick. They're sitting at 3-2 right now at the top of the NFC South. But this past Thursday, I was busy, and so I didn't get to watch the game. But I looked on ESPN Gamecast at it was late. It was one minute left in the game, and I saw it was close. And I look at my fantasy score, and I see on my bench Kirk Cousins had, I think, 28 points at that point, and he threw another touchdown that game. He ended with 35 points.
Yeah.
Starting him this week because Sam Darnold's on a bye. But wow, you put up 509 pass yards. That is tied for the 15th best passing yards performance in NFL history.
Wow.
On a random Thursday night. Thursday night games are always memes, too. They're just not good games.
They're usually not good games. And you're not throwing to these star receivers. You're throwing to good receivers.
I mean, besides Justin Jefferson. I'm on the wrong team. Yeah, you're right.
You got good receivers, but you don't have, like you're saying, Justin Jefferson anymore. And you're still putting up those numbers. That is, it's insane.
Definitely. Kadarrell Hodge with, the game-winning touchdown, not what I expected.
No.
And, I expected the Buccaneers to win that game pretty good.
Yeah.
Because the Buccaneers have been putting up a lot of points, winning good games.
Yeah.
And then the Falcons putting up crazy numbers. Kirk Cousins, monster performance. Showed why they signed him to the big deal they did, even though they did draft Michael Penix.
Poor Michael. Every game, it just looks worse and worse for Michael Penix.
Definitely.
Poor guy. He doesn't deserve. Somebody free Michael Penix.
Yeah. And, number 1, I couldn't give it to anyone else besides Kirk Cousins this week.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then, starting the what did they call it? Like the Kirko wave
the
or
Kirko
something.
wave.
It's so funny.
Kirko chains.
Exactly. His alter ego. So fun to watch.
It's funny because he did the quarterback series on Netflix.
Yes.
And he's just the nice, genuine guy. Seems, on TV. I don't know him personally, obviously. Seems like a really great guy, and it's just a very like a dad, minivan soccer dad, and he is, but he's got this alter ego. He's like Batman.
Exactly.
But he throws footballs.
Yeah. So funny. I love Kirk Cousins.
Wait till he takes off the glasses.
Exactly. But man, I wish that I wasn't. Well, I may just have to go back and. Well, I already watched highlights from the game. May just have to go back and find a condensed full game replay. Can watch the whole game in 30 minutes.
Oh yeah.
But man, history made on a Thursday night. Normally, when history's made on Thursday night, it's not a good thing.
No, it's usually something negative.
It's normally like this game only had 9 points total. But there we go. Crazy Thursday game. And this Thursday, it's looking pretty good too. Seahawks and 49ers. Of course, 49ers dealing with injuries, and Seahawks coming off a very unexpected loss. I lost my ESPN elimination league because of that. I was in the top 4% before that, so that hurt. Anyway, did not expect the Vikings to take that W, or Vikings, the Giants.
The Giants. Yeah.
It definitely is late, man. But two teams coming off tough weeks, tough season for the 49ers. But interested to see. Should be a good game.
Yeah.
To finish up, let's do our tradition of just sharing our Super Bowl pick. Mine doesn't have any change from last week or last episode. The Texans, I didn't lose faith after they lost to the Vikings. Still haven't lost faith. The Bills, early in that game, looked like a Super Bowl team, but the Texans came out on top.
Yeah.
And without Joe Mixon, Nico Collins still got hurt. That's an injury I forgot to mention. I think he's week to week, so shouldn't be too long term, maybe a couple weeks out. But Texans look like a Super Bowl team. By the playoffs, they should be at 100% full strength again. And I haven't beaten the Lions. So the Lions, as we talked about before we went on air, NFC doesn't really have a top dog.
Yeah.
The Vikings are 5-0, but I'm just not willing to bet Sam Darnold Super Bowl yet.
Yeah.
If they continue like this, Justin Jefferson, Sam Darnold, and everything just working out well, I can see it. But we've seen in the past teams that start out really hot, a lot of times don't make it.
Yeah.
So Texans over Lions is what I'm going with now.
I like the Texans for the AFC. I think they need to figure out their penalties, especially on the offensive line. That I think the game could have been a little less close this week I guess last week, what we would say, if the penalties had been such a big factor. It seemed like every time I looked up there was a flag thrown on either their offensive or defensive line. But, they're playing excellent. Obviously, they lost to the Vikings, but they've been really showing why they're a Super Bowl contender. So Super Bowl, AFC, I'm gonna go Texans. And NFC, I just don't know. 2 hard losses in a row for the Buccaneers. Is that 2 in a row? I gotta get my weeks straight. I don't know. I think they had a win in between. Because we recorded 2 weeks ago, and that's when they had their loss. So they've had a win in between, but two hard losses. This last one was a close game, but I wouldn't have imagined it would have been a close game coming into it. I would have thought they would have run away with it. You know what? I'm gonna go. Just to be different because I don't want to copy your Lions pick. I'm gonna go Vikings.
Ooh.
I'm gonna say the Vikings stick with it because I don't see. I just think with the quarterback situation, Jordan Love's not playing like. He seems either a little bit in his head or maybe he's not done with injury, or maybe he's not fully healed. By that, and so I don't see the Packers right now taking it. I don't see the Bucs taking it. Sadly, hopefully they'll change my mind again. But it's been a little rough for them. I don't see the Eagles taking it. And so I got to go Vikings. I think that's my only option left. And we'll see this week, Vikings versus Lions. We'll see which one of us, me or Hank, comes out on top.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking, but I think I got to go Vikings. The NFC is really – I'm puzzled. I'll say that. I will say that. I am puzzled by the NFC right now.
Definitely. I mean, the Commanders are looking like contenders. But
the Commanders are looking like contenders. That's another team. I just don't necessarily want to put stock in it just yet.
Yeah, they're in the same camp as the Vikings where it's too early.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the Cowboys, I'm not willing to bet for them at all. But I didn't expect them. Falcons are up there. The stat that caught my eye, just looking at standings, it has like home wins, away wins, divisional, conference, whatever. The Cowboys both their losses are at home and their wins are away, which is very opposite from last season. Last season, if they're at home, they win. If they're away, they'd probably lose. But there you go. That's the stat that we'll leave y'all with is why are the Cowboys sometimes contenders at home and sometimes contenders away? And it's just whatever their contenders
I think we just end it with why are the Cowboys?
Yeah, why are the Cowboys?
Just
definitely.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Goodbye. But yeah, dude, NFC's wide open. AFC's pretty wide open too.
Yeah.
But I think it's pretty clear the teams that there are clear teams that can win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Ironically, the Chiefs. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is just so hard to bet against.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, the Texans have a negative point differential so far this season because of how bad their one loss was. I mean, Ravens look really good. Bills, as I said, look like a Super Bowl team.
Yeah.
Whoa! I did not expect the Broncos to be 3-2 at this point in the season. I didn't.
I was just looking at your screen and I was like, "What is that team right there? It couldn't be the Broncos."
Couldn't be the Broncos.
Hey, Bo Nix is playing good. He's
Yeah.
playing good. You know, he had a rough first couple weeks, but he's getting into a groove.
Definitely.
Yeah. So hey,
But we're speaking of the playoffs and the Broncos. Boise State Broncos, they're making the playoffs. I'm sticking to my take.
Dude.
After like the first couple weeks of college football, Ashton Genty, I was like hopping on the Heisman train, and it has gone full speed. Sure, he hasn't played the same teams that Barry Sanders, who holds the record, played.
Yeah.
Although I don't know who Barry Sanders played. I need to look at that. But, you know, Derrick Henry, the last Heisman running back. But Ashton Genty is blowing my mind. I want to get a jersey. I can't find anywhere to get an Ashton Genty jersey that's below $100. And I'm, again, broke college student. Not going to do that. But, wow. Amazing. And if they, well, I mean, he had put up almost 200 yards against Oregon.
Yeah.
And they should have beat Oregon. Anyway.
Yeah.
Boise State Broncos making the playoffs. Cowboys, why? And, man, just crazy.
Yeah.
Football's
Football is crazy.
It's crazy. I'm glad we get to cover it. It's fun.
Yeah. It's a blessing.
Even if no one listens to this. Hey, I know some people are.
Oh, yeah.
I look at the stats every now and then. I have the tab open. But it's just so fun.
Yes, sir.
Love it.
It's definitely a blessing. Get to come in here and do this.
100%. Love getting to do it with you. It's a blast. Thanks for listening to the Nice Catch podcast. If you love football, continue to tune in each week for football news and analysis from the offseason all the way through the playoffs. This is the Nice Catch podcast.